Hey everybody, what's going on? This is wilkyb, and this is a tournament replay that I'm doing for my map, Help I'm a Rock version 4, and the tournament I'm hosting on it. This is a game between achesst, I believe is how you pronounce their name, and izanagi007. This replay is going to be kind of short because it's just going to analyze the early game. Spoiler alert is that Izanagi, the game is one-sided for Izanagi. And that's because there was a build order mistake that put achesst in a dice roll situation, and actually they made two mistakes that certainly made them lose the game, which I'll point out and I'll show you. It's a bit complicated, and I think it's a bit complicated, so we'll go through it here. So on this map, labs enable the recon, and player 2 in particular can build a recon on turn 2. So it's recons are really strong in the early game in this map. And one of the measures you can go to prevent your player 2 opponent from doing the day 2 recon. Player 1 can't do day 2. They can do day 3 at the earliest. To prevent player 2 from doing the day 2 recon, you can capture this lab, which is what achesst does in this match. However, there is a response that Izanagi can do, is that they go to capture the lab themselves. And then no matter what, Izanagi will be able to build that day 2 recon, no matter what. And so, in this replay, there were two mistakes that were made on the second turn. And those were sending this infantry in sight of the recon that will be built the next turn by Izanagi, and also fully capturing the lab here. So I'll explain why this is a mistake. I'll explain why both of these are a mistake. Number one is the lab here. If you go to capture this lab on turn 1, and your opponent calls you on that, and they go to capture their own lab so that they can certainly build that turn 2 recon, the correct response from player 1 is to abandon capturing this lab and go to capture this city. And the reason for that is because, and we'll see it in this replay, is capturing this lab it doesn't disable the recon rush at all like you want it to. They can still build a day 2 and a day 3 recon. However, if you abandon this capture because they're capturing their lab in response to you beginning this capture, then you can skip and go to the city. And what happens resultingly is player 2 will be able to build that day 2 recon, but they won't have enough income to build the day 3 recon. So it's a bit complicated, but basically if you do this lab capture as player 1, and you see that player 2 is calling you on that and capturing their own lab, the correct response is to capture this city. And so we'll see in this replay how it plays out, and how achesst puts themselves in a dice roll situation because of this capture, and they also they seal their fate when they reveal this infantry as well. They seal their fate. So it's a dice roll situation when you mess up the build order typically, and then if you reveal and give your opponent more information, that will put the nail in the coffin, as we'll see in this replay. So Izanagi does the day 2 recon, and because they saw this infantry, they know which way that their opponent is going to capture, and so that's the nail in the coffin. So if there was no information about which way achesst was going to capture their base, the first base, they still have a chance at winning. They still have a chance, but which is a dice roll situation, because of that mistake that they made at the lab. But then they sealed their fate when they reveal which way they go to capture the base. And so what happens in this game is that it's just completely one-sided for Izanagi. It just becomes really one-sided for Izanagi. The later that the game goes, it becomes very noticeable. So anyways, you'll see kind of how this goes, how it plays out. Is that these infantry and the development of this top half of the map is it doesn't happen as rapidly as you would like it to. It's a big disadvantage. Another thing I'll point out too is that Izanagi captured this city here, and they would actually be in a better position had they just gone right for the base. So in this replay, if you watch it yourself, just know that even Izanagi made a mistake, in my opinion, and they should have just gone straight for this base, and then they will enable the economy to develop even more rapidly. So anyways, without further ado, this game is really one-sided for Izanagi, and it ends on turn 20, I think. It goes pretty far. But the later that the game goes, the greater the discrepancy between army size and value becomes. And that's because of the mistakes that were made in the early game. So, that's the game here between Izanagi and achesst. And if you want to watch the replay, you can see it yourself, how it kind of, unravels. But just know, like I said, in the early game, if you make mistakes, you're gonna set yourself up for like dice roll situations, and if you lose that dice roll situation, you're really, really likely to lose the game. So if you make build order mistakes in the beginning of the game, you're putting yourself at risk. Yeah. So, anyways, you guys, that's wilkyb. Thank you for watching, and I'll keep on uploading these kinds of replays as I see them come. And they may not be short like this, because maybe they'll go more steadily into the late game. Okay, guys? Thanks. Adios.